Ever heard of a battle fought against, well, nothing?
Really?
Yeah, we're diving into this crazy thing called the Battle of Los Angeles.
Uh-huh.
This night in 1942, when L.A., like, totally went into war mode.
Oh, wow.
Guns blazing, but the enemy was...
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole mystery, isn't it?
Yeah, so picture this. It's February 25th, 1942, just a few months after Pearl
Oh,
Harbor.
yeah.
The U.S. is like super on edge, especially after a Japanese sub shelled this oil field near Santa Barbara the day before.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So everyone's freaking out, right? And then BAM radar picks up something huge coming in from the coast.
Oh, no.
Air raid sirens are going off. Searchlights are all over the sky. And thousands of people in L.A. are suddenly in darkness, just staring up at this whole thing.
Yeah, and they weren't messing around. I mean, over 1,400 anti-aircraft shells were fired into the sky that night.
Wow.
Can you imagine the chaos? People were just panicking as the shells exploded.
And people were seeing all kinds of stuff too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like swarms of enemy aircraft, paratroopers dropping from the sky bombs, you name it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And tragically, the panic itself actually led to deaths.
Yeah.
Car accidents because of the blackout, heart attacks from all the stress.
But here's the thing. After all that, not a single enemy aircraft was found.
What?
No wreckage, no bombs, nothing.
Seriously?
And the Japanese even said they didn't have any planes over LA that night.
So what was everyone shooting at? Was it like mass hysteria or war nerves just getting out of control? Or was there actually something unexplained up there in the skies over Los Angeles that night?
Well, that's where the theories get really interesting. Some people think it was a real attack.
Okay.
Maybe Japanese planes from submarines and the government just covered it up.
Yeah.
Others think it was some kind of psychological warfare to scare everyone.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have the whole UFO crowd.
Right.
I mean, a mysterious object over LA during wartime. Come on. That's like their dream scenario.
That's got to be their bread and butter.
Oh, absolutely. That blurry photo in the LA Times the next day has become like this iconic UFO thing.
Okay, so let's get real for a sec. What's the most likely explanation? What do the experts actually say?
Well, the 1983 report by the U.S. Air Force History Office gives a less exciting but probably more accurate explanation.
Okay.
They think it was a bunch of things mixed together, like heightened anxieties, jumpy gunners, mistaking shadows for enemy planes.
Oh, yeah.
And this brand new radar technology that, well, let's just say they weren't exactly experts at using it yet.
So you're saying they might have been shooting at, like, weather balloons?
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing, but I guess it makes more sense than aliens.
Right. Plus, think about all those shell bursts and flares in the sky. Add in some sleep deprivation, and it's easy to see how that could turn into phantom enemy aircraft in people's minds.
Exactly.
Still, it's crazy to think that a whole city could be thrown into chaos, basically because of a misinterpretation.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder how much of history is shaped by these kinds of misunderstandings, doesn't it?
It really does. Makes you wonder how easily we could all be fooled even today, you know?
Totally.
We've got instant information now, but that doesn't always mean it's accurate.
It's like that old saying, right?
Yeah.
A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes.
Exactly.
Except now with the internet, that lie can travel at like warp speed.
Exactly. And speaking of reinterpreting information,
Yeah.
let's talk about a different kind of historical mystery.
Okay.
Have you ever heard about how technology is bringing these ancient Egyptian temples back to life?
Wait, like actually seeing them in their original jewelry?
Yeah.
I'm picturing those like iconic beige monuments,
Uh-huh.
but with color, right?
Yes, you got it.
Tell me more.
Those temples weren't always so, like, monochromatic.
Okay.
They were actually painted in these super vibrant colors, blues, reds, yellows, a
Wow.
whole rainbow. But over centuries, those colors faded away, leaving us with just the muted tones we see today.
So how do we seeing those colors now?
Okay.
Are they like peeling back layers of paint or something?
It's even cooler than that.
Okay.
They're using this thing called digital projection mapping to recreate those lost colors right on the temples.
Hold on, explain that. Like
Okay.
well, let's say someone who hasn't been to a planetarium in a while.
Okay, sure.
How does that even work?
Okay, imagine they're projecting a movie onto a building.
Okay.
But instead of a film, they're projecting these hyper-detailed images of the original paint schemes
Wow.
based on all this historical research and analysis.
So you're saying we can basically see these ancient temples as they were thousands of years ago?
Pretty much.
That must be an incredible experience.
It really is. And it's not just about aesthetics either.
Right.
By seeing those colors, researchers are actually gaining a deeper understanding of ancient Egyptian symbolism, their religious beliefs, even their daily lives.
Okay, that's officially blowing my mind.
Yeah.
It's like we're cracking open a time capsule and getting a glimpse into a whole other world.
Right.
It makes those history books come alive, you know?
Absolutely. And speaking of history coming alive, let's jump back to another event that on the surface might seem completely unrelated.
Okay.
The bombing of the LA Times building in 1910.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
The LA Times was bombed. I've never heard of that.
Uh-huh.
Was it like a terrorist attack?
Not quite. It was actually a much more complex story,
Hmm.
deeply rooted in the labor struggles of the early 20th century.
Okay. I'm officially intrigued. Give me the lowdown.
So picture Los Angeles in 1910.
Okay.
It's this booming city,
Right.
but also a hotbed of union activity. Workers are fighting for better wages, safer working conditions, the right to organize, the basics.
Uh-huh.
But the publisher of the LA Times,
Okay.
Harrison Gray Otis,
Okay.
was vehemently anti-union.
Really?
He saw unions as a threat to his power and his profits.
Sounds like the kind of guy who'd have a "My Way or the Highway" sign on his desk.
Pretty much. Anyway, this bombing wasn't just some random act of violence.
Okay.
It was part of a much bigger, much more sinister story.
Okay.
A nationwide bombing campaign orchestrated by a few radical union members.
Whoa, hold on. A nationwide bombing campaign?
Yeah.
This is getting serious. Are we talking about domestic terrorism?
Well, the term wasn't used back then, but yeah, it was a pretty big deal.
Wow.
These guys were planting bombs at businesses all over the country, targeting those that refused to recognize the union.
So who were these guys?
Okay.
And how did they get caught?
It was two brothers,
Okay.
John and James McNamara,
Okay.
members of the Iron Workers Union.
Gotcha.
John was secretly funneling union funds to finance this whole bombing spree.
Oh, wow.
They were eventually caught thanks to this private detective,
Okay.
William Burns,
Okay.
who was basically like the Sherlock Holmes of his time.
Wow, this is like a real-life detective novel.
Yeah.
With bombs and conspiracies and everything. So
Totally.
what happened to the McNamara brothers?
Okay.
Did they get away with it?
Not a chance.
Okay.
The trial was a national sensation.
Oh, wow.
And in the end, they both pleaded guilty.
Really?
James, the one who actually planted the bomb at the LA Times, got life in prison.
Oh, geez.
John got 15 years.
It's crazy to think that something that happened over 100 years ago can still feel so relevant today.
Yeah,
You know,
I know, right?
The fight for workers' rights, the use of violence to achieve political goals, the power of the media to shape public opinion.
Yeah.
Like, we're still grappling with those same issues.
Absolutely. And that's what makes history so fascinating and so important. It's not just about dusty old textbooks.
Right.
It's about understanding where we came from so we can make better choices about where we're going.
Well said. But speaking of making choices, I think we're going to have to make a choice about what to talk about next.
Yeah.
Because we're running out of time for this part of our deep dive.
You're right. But don't worry, we'll be back soon to wrap things up and explore some final thoughts on these captivating historical events.
Okay, so we've got this mystery in the sky over LA, then these hidden colors coming back to life on ancient temples, and then a bombing campaign that rocked the whole nation. I'm starting to see some connections here, but I need help tying it all together.
Yeah, you're right. There are some common threads running through all these seemingly like totally different events.
Okay.
Let's start with the Battle of Los Angeles. We talked about the whole fog of war thing, the role of new technology, the anxieties of a nation on edge.
Uh-huh.
But what really gets me is how easily misinformation can take root, especially during a crisis.
Yeah, it makes you think about how much of what we think we know about history is really just based on interpretations, assumptions, maybe even like straight-up lies.
Right, and those interpretations can be influenced by so many things, political agendas, personal biases, even something as simple as a blurry photograph.
So speaking of blurry photographs, let's go back to those UFO folks for a sec.
Okay.
They must go crazy for the Battle of Los Angeles.
Oh, absolutely. They see it as like proof of an alien cover-up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, those unexplained lights in the sky, the government's explanation that a lot of people thought was bogus. It's all like catnip for conspiracy theorists.
So what's their take on it? Spacecraft from another galaxy, government experiments gone wrong.
Well, the theories are all over the place. Some think it was a full-on alien invasion, while others say it might have been some secret military tech being tested.
It's funny, isn't it? We can have all the evidence in the world, but sometimes people are just going to believe what they want to believe no matter what the facts say.
It's just human nature, I guess. We crave explanations, we look for patterns, and sometimes we fill in the gaps with our own imaginations.
Yeah.
But even if it wasn't aliens, the Battle of Los Angeles reminds us to be critical thinkers,
Right.
to question what we see and hear, especially when things seem too good or too strange to be true.
And that brings us back to those Egyptian temples, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about reinterpreting the past, seeing things with fresh eyes, challenging what we think we know. It's like those colors that were hidden for centuries, and then suddenly they're revealed and we have to rethink everything.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder what other hidden truths are out there just waiting to be discovered. What other stories have been lost or forgotten, silenced by time or by the agendas of people in power.
It's a good reminder that History isn't static. It's constantly evolving as new evidence comes up and new perspectives are shared.
Right.
And it's up to us to keep asking questions, to keep digging, to keep uncovering those hidden layers.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Okay?
We've explored the mysteries of the Battle of Los Angeles, traveled to the vibrant world of ancient Egypt, and uncovered the dark side of the American labor movement.
It's been quite a journey. And as always, I'm walking away with more questions than answers.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of history, right?
Yeah.
It keeps us curious, it keeps us engaged, it keeps us learning.
And that's what we're all about here on the Deep Dive. Remember, folks, history isn't just a bunch of facts and dates.
Right.
It's a tapestry woven from tons of stories, perspectives, and interpretations. And it's up to us to keep exploring those threads, to keep unraveling those mysteries.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. Until next time, keep those minds curious, those hearts open. And remember, history is happening all around us every single day. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss a single deep dive.